So last night we had some pretty crazy news in the camera industry, and I was pretty much falling asleep on the couch last night, and I checked Instagram and I saw that Jared Land posted that Nikon is gonna buy Red. And I was like, dude, this can't be it. This is probably April 1st. It's April Fool's Day. And then I Google it and I see that Nikon posted it on their actual Nikon website saying that they're aiming to acquire Red. And I couldn't believe it. It was completely out of the blue. No one heard any rumors about this, and it just seems really odd. And I don't know if things are fully signed yet, but it seems like that it's going to happen sometime in the near future. But this morning I woke up and I went into my little office and I noticed that my camera looks a little bit different. It now says Nikon Digital Cinema, so I guess I'm a Nikon shooter and Sony shooter? Kind of crazy. Yeah, I think this news brings up a lot of thoughts and emotions for a lot of people, and there's definitely like two different sides of the coin here. And I kind of fall somewhere in the middle where I'm hopeful, but also like a little bit nervous, but I'm not like going on either extreme to where I think like it's going to be the end all be all of Red or Nikon or the industry as a whole. We don't know really anything right now. We just know that Nikon's aiming to acquire Red, which can mean a lot of different things. But this all kind of stems from when Red sued Nikon for using internal RAW, and eventually that whole like lawsuit ended up just falling out. And Nikon was able to keep their internal RAW in their Z8 and Z9, and I don't know what other cameras they have for that. But Red was pretty much just like hands off and like kind of forgot about it, whereas in other lawsuits like they fight tooth and nail and like make sure that they win. So that kind of got everyone's like gears turning and like starting to think something was up, and I guess we kind of have the answer now. But what's really funny is that Nikon's a company that hasn't really been the most innovative, the most outward. Like they haven't really been the most forward-thinking company as it seems, and they've been clowned for the past handful of years. And it's funny that they're buying a company like Red, who's such a forward-thinking, progressive, risk-taking company that has really shaken up the industry, and now they have access to all of Red's patents, more importantly the R3D codec and whatever other technology that they have. And they're probably going to withhold it from the other companies because now they have leverage and arguably the best codec on the market right now, especially at the price range under Alexas and such. And it's just kind of funny, like they got bullied, but then now they're like, screw you guys, like we're gonna keep all this to ourselves and use that to make Nikon an actual contender in the cinema space. So if Nikon, the large and established company that makes tons of money, if they're able to acquire Red and have access to all those patents and tech and anything else that Red is working on, I can't help but think, what does Red get out of this? And it seems a little mismatched because Red was a forefront in this industry. They were disrupting everything. They went against Sony, Canon, and Arri, and they were in the conversation with Arri, and they're this small little company from California. They take risks. They deliver crazy cameras on time. Like they just run very differently than a normal corporation. So it is weird that they're getting acquired by Nikon and they're just like seemingly giving it up. And we don't know all the details, and that's where this nuance comes into play, but it seems like either A, they weren't making enough revenue and being profitable, and they just wanted to like get like the safety net underneath them, which is probably the most probable because their yearly income was 150 million this year, and then Nikon's was 5 billion. So those are two insanely different numbers, to where for Nikon, they're probably not seeing Red as like this money-making machine because to them 150 million is probably nothing. Or with Red, they either sold it to Nikon to either get more longevity out of it, which I'm hoping is the case, or everyone's just over it and they don't want to do it anymore, and they're like, it's just gonna die slowly, so we might as well sell it while we can and get the most for it. So it's really, really weird, and I don't really know how normal corporate acquisitions go, but from the outside looking in, they don't really seem to go that well, especially when you have two very different companies that run at a different pace. So as a new owner of a Red camera, I'm now forced to kind of take inventory and figure out a new plan of action. It's hard because right now we don't know a lot of details, which those details and context will help us make better, more informed decisions instead of just selling all of our gear right now and going crazy. It's hard because I invested into this company for a lot of different reasons. I believed in them. I believe in the Komodo X, the Raptor X, the Raptor VV, Raptor Super 35. I believed in their company and how they were so innovative and pushing the boundaries constantly and how untraditional they were. I can't help but think, will my camera be supported for the next year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years? So it's like, okay, well, if they now sell Red to Nikon, if that actually goes through, will Nikon just like kill Red? Or will there just not be any new cameras or new support? If they make new cameras, will it be an RF mount or will it be a Z mount? It's hard because a lot of us have invested into RF lenses and the RF ecosystem with adapters and rear lens systems, and it's hard because if you're trying to be in this ecosystem for a long time, now it's like a weird like 90-degree turn going a completely different direction, which for new owners of Red cameras, like it could be a great thing, especially if they add the Z mount. It's hard now being a Komodo X owner. I'm thankful I didn't buy a Raptor, which I know like right now these cameras are incredible. Just because this news came out yesterday doesn't mean that they can't do their job anymore. These things should and will be relevant for a long time. For the majority of us, we're probably swapping cameras every 3 to 5 years. So that's all I'm really asking for with this camera, as long as it's reliable, gets the job done, and if Red, now under Nikon, can still do support, do firmware updates, and just kind of still be like in the know with that, that's all you can really ask for. But I definitely feel a little left out, and I'm really hoping that Red can still act as Red, just under the umbrella and safety net of Nikon, where they can now have access to Nikon's resources and factories, and more importantly, their money, and then Nikon can just take all of Red's tech and the crazy brains from their engineers and use that to beef up their mirrorless and potentially cinema line. So yeah, all this just makes me think about the future. I was planning on a Raptor X or Burano. I'm talking about that in a different video, but I'm not making any moves soon. I know the Komodo X is what I need right now, and I don't regret my purchase at all. I'm still beyond psyched on it. It's the perfect camera for my needs, but I'm definitely starting to think more down the road, especially as my business starts to grow. I was expecting a Burano or Raptor at some point because I think those cameras would fit my style really well. But if Red is doing this and it seems like they're gonna die soon, like that's completely off the table. Like I don't know if I'll own another Red camera after this Komodo X, even though I wish I spent more years with Red because I think they're such a rad company and their cameras are amazing and the image. But yeah, I think the best scenario is that Nikon's fully hands off and lets Red be Red. And on the flip side of that, the worst thing is that Nikon just fully snuffs out Red's like creativity and passion and forces them to work on Nikon's timeline that's like super corporate and really slow and not really full of risk takers. So it'll be interesting to see how it plays out. I know once we get more context, it'll help kind of like ease a lot of minds, but I don't have any plans of selling my camera. I hope you guys don't have any plans of selling your camera either if you're a Red owner. It could be a really great time now to buy a used Komodo X or Komodo OG, or even like an old Scarlett or Gemini or whatever. There will be a lot of people that will freak out and go to the extremes and just not really think logical about this whole situation. At the end of the day, companies come and go, and it could be time for Red to leave, but I don't really see that happening because they've been such a staple in this industry. Who knows? Maybe the next move from the Komodo X is an Alexa 35. That'd be pretty dope. But yeah, this is probably the first step into Jared leaving the company, which is for better or for worse. He's been this like really cool figure that teases things and just seems super passionate about all of it, but he might be burnt out, and this is just his first step into retirement and just enjoying life, which you can't fault the guy for that. I'm sure a lot of us out there, myself included, would want to step away from something that's taken so much of your brain space and time over the last like 10 to 15 years. But yeah, for now, I'm hopeful. It'll be really interesting to see how Nikon catches up. Hopefully they have some heat lined up for 2025. I know their Z9 and Z8 are incredible cameras, but it'd be really cool to see them make actual dedicated video cameras like the Sony FX3, Sony FX6, like something along those lines where you have like the touch of Red features in there, but like it's a Nikon camera. The Z mount's gonna be super cool. You can adapt so many different lenses to it. I just learned about this literally today. The Z mount has a shorter flange distance than RF, so you can adapt E, Z, and what was the other one? And you can adapt to Leica L as well. I don't know if you can adapt RF to that, but it seems like the Z mount is just a way more versatile mount. And if you compare it with Sony, Nikon, and Leica and Lumix, like that's a pretty good ecosystem to be in, especially if you want those modern lenses. But for a lot of us, we're still using PL and EF lenses, so regardless if they change the mount, who cares? Like you'll have to buy a new adapter, sure, and companies will have to make new like rear lens ND systems potentially, but it's not the end of the world. I would absolutely love to see a Nikon FX3 with R3D RAW, and imagine if they put internal ND in there. They would completely break the internet, and that would be like the best like comeback story for Nikon, especially after they've been clowned for so long and seemingly off the map in the whole video space. But yeah, Nikon makes incredible lenses. I think they're mostly well known for their lenses, especially their vintage lenses like the Nikkor AI and AIS. It'd be really sick to see them make cine lenses, but yeah, I'm sure time will tell. I know they have a lot of work ahead of them, but it's kind of exciting, I guess. Nikon has so much money and resources that anything that Red would do, I think they'd be able to do it a lot faster as long as their like higher ups don't like stifle that whole workflow. They can pretty much take the IP from Red and throw gas on the fire and move so much faster than Red ever could, which I personally find to be really exciting. But yeah, I have high hopes for Nikon and Red. I really hope Red stays Red and Nikon can just do their thing and get back into the race. And yeah, I really hope that Red stays around for a while because They're one of the main names in the game, and I hope they have a lot of support left for the DSMC3 cameras. We still want to see a 5-inch DSMC3 monitor, which would be really cool to see, but yeah, I really hope that this isn't the end of DSMC3. It'd be really lame to see them sell off Red to Nikon and then just be like, see you guys, we're gonna make DSMC 4 and now all your cameras are like obsolete or like whatever. I don't know if that'll happen. At the end of the day, competition pushes all the other companies forward, and I think Nikon making this move is a great business move for them, especially for them since they've been behind in this race the entire time. It'll be interesting to see. But yeah, Nikon has some catching up to do. Both Red's tech, I think they'll make some waves. At the end of the day, if this is the end of Red, we still have some options. There's still Sony and Canon. It's a different story. Nikon, Kinfinity, Blackmagic. Like, we still have some options out there, but for me personally, I still think Red is like the best place for me right now. And then at some point, maybe a Sony Venice or Alexa something. I don't really want to go back to Blackmagic. I don't want to do Kinfinity or Zcam. I don't want to go back to Canon. But what's hilarious to me is that before Canon made an RF C300 or C500, it's been 4 years since the Canon C70, Nikon bought Red. Like, that timeline happened before Canon could release a new RF cinema camera, and maybe at NAB they will, but yeah, it's just really weird times right now in the industry, and I think the best thing to do is just sit back, use what you have a level head, think logically, and use critical thinking to dissect these situations. And it's still way too early to make factual statements about what's going on, and I think expectations are everything, and I just have an expectation of whatever happens, happens, and I'm cool with it. If Red ends up dying, I'm gonna go somewhere else. If they don't die, I don't even know if I'll upgrade my camera within the next year or so. So it's not gonna affect me any, as long as there's support. That's all I can really ask for. But yeah, welcome to 2024, a dawn of a new era. I followed Nikon USA on Instagram today, which is wild to me. And yeah, send a prayer to all of your former Red shooters. Now they're Team Nikon. It's wild times, dude. But yeah, I'd love to hear what you guys have to say about this whole situation. It's a really bizarre thing. I was not expecting this late last night, but here we are. Yeah, let me know all of your thoughts down below, and I'll see you guys later. Peace.